Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Today is the 14th of September, 2017. I apologize for being extremely late, and it's getting cold out here. It's in the 60s here in Washington State. We're headed into our fall season. I just got off the phone with a great person. That's all I can say. The knowledge that was imparted to me on the progress of my campaign, it put a fire in me. Last night we spoke about some of the different things that I have listed on the website as far as issues that are affecting us on a daily basis. I want to also have us keep in mind too that we have people in our current Congress and Senate who are actually trying to do something. And coming up in 2018, the elections are going to be imperative for us. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of people that are running for re-election who are the same old, same old. We're not going to see any changes whatsoever. But 2015, 2016, and now in 2017, a swell has begun as far as candidates across this nation, particularly here in Washington State, where I'm running as an independent for the position of U.S. Senate. We have young progressive people running for our Congress. We have young progressive people running for local offices as well. And we need to do our best to support those progressives. 2018, with the congressional seats up for re-election, we have a chance. We have a chance to make history here in Washington State by taking a block all at one time, a block of justice, a block of your voice to Washington, D.C. We can start working with those who still remain in Congress, who are loyal to the people, and those loyal to in the Senate. We can start beginning that turnaround, because in 2 years later, there's going to be more seats up for bid that we can go and get nationwide. And if we can fill our Congress and Senate up with progressives, liberal-minded people, independents, Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on or where they seat. The point is the work of the people. Is it getting done? And that's what's important in this election coming up in 2018. Here in Washington State, we have primaries. I recently, on this page, did a like and follow. I don't know how soon it'll show up as far as people this campaign are following. But pretty soon you'll be able to see all the campaigns and support that we're giving to different candidates across the state of Washington. Are there any questions? Anyone who maybe have come in, do they have any questions? Because David, as you know from my previous broadcast, I can talk and talk and talk. Okay. But excuse the apparel. I mean, it is cold here in Washington State. Usually I have on a different shirt or something, but it is getting cooler here. I will say that my makeshift garden proved to be very bountiful. Out of probably about a half a pound or maybe or less, or maybe a pound of dried beans, I planted them, and voila, I got over a bushel of beans from that pound of beans. So it was a bountiful, and they were pinto beans, so they make good chili and soups. The next one was I had muskmelons, the yellow orange melon. I had those, and they came up. I had cucumbers, also came up. The question is asked, is there someone in our Congress that you respect and admire? Yes, there is. One who is outspoken, one who is a straight shooter, one who isn't afraid to take the heat. They're a veteran. I have deep admiration and respect for Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. She has proven herself time and time again to stand up for what is right. Her recent trip to Syria to investigate allegations and to do her own inspection, and as an Army officer, I believe she has those skills. And she came back with a report that was contrary to what we're being told on mainstream media. That is the work of a true patriot. She took an oath when she entered the Army and became an officer to protect and defend this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to ensure that the Republic was able to exist and thrive. That's what we all took as veterans, to make sure that this Republic grew and thrived, that the people felt safe and protected. That is the oath that we as service people take. And recent episodes in our history, this as summer ended, with hate groups having parades and marches with Nazi flags and Virginia battle flag, and then the Aryan Nation as well joining in, all three of them, all three racist groups. I mean, damn, where are those smart bombs when you want them? I mean, where are the drone pilots when you need them? There wouldn't have been any collateral damage either. That's the beautiful part about it. But those kind of things have got to stop. This is what this nation is not made of. Yes, there's always been those groups in America, but there are those who walk the talk, those who actually live what they're saying, those who actually believe with all their heart, their very being, their directions, the way they take. And right now, in Congress, I'm looking forward to meeting a Congresswoman when I arrive in the Senate next year. I'm looking forward to working with the Congresswoman. And anything that I can do in the meantime, I'll do the same. I understand she has put a couple of bills out there, and that information is being given to me, and I'll be researching that so that I'll have that for future episodes, so we can talk about domestic and foreign policy issues. There's a lot that we have in common, and if I see the Congresswoman supporting that, I can't see no reason why I shouldn't support it as an independent candidate for the U.S. Senate. And the reason I say that is, if that is going to be the battle when I get there, so be it. I told you a few times I'm looking for a good fight, and I think I found one. Okay? So it won't do any good for us to go to our corners. We just have to get up and go right into it. We get our information. We make our strategic moves. We know what plans we have to make to get bills through. I'm not going to sign this bill if it means I have to sign your piece of shit bill. Sorry. I'm sorry. my dad was Navy and my grandfather was Navy, and a lot of my friends are Navy, and henceforth that's where most Marines, if we're going to pass the blame on anything, that's where we acquired our potty mouth. Okay? We blame it on the Calamaris. But no, back to Congresswoman Gabbard. I saw a video of hers a few nights ago where she's talking about the arming terrorism, making arms available. And I'm pretty sure that she took it one step further, because we should not be selling arms to nations who in turn are going to sell the arms that we sold them to terrorist and fringe people. It's important that allies that we have are not in turn selling weapons to terrorists as well. I think that the United States needs to get out of the arms business. That means, well, the Soviet Union or China will step in. Don't you think those two nations already know everything about the F-16 and everything else that we've sold to other nations? Don't you think that they know what's going on with those airplanes? And spending $1 trillion on airplanes isn't going to get it done. Okay? Sending trillions of dollars on a plane that may or may not work when we need it to. How does the plane stand up against electromagnetic pulses? If it's all electronic, if it flies electronic, couldn't fly if it wasn't electronic. What's its defense against that? I think we ought to go back to the P-51 Mustangs and the Thunderbolts, slow-moving aircraft that could be juiced up with today's engines, more efficient, greater range. But at the speed that they're going, it makes it a whole lot easier to pinpoint your target if you're going to be in military action. Low cost, high tech instruments of war. So, our military. And to be quite frankly, I'm so much information has come across my desk in the last few days that I'm going to revert to something that I spoke about last night. I also want to mention that the young man who was involved in those shootings and killed the students and injured them, that he is 15 years old. He had access to an AR-15 and a pistol, and he's going to be tried as an adult, which means that he'll go to prison if convicted for the rest of his life with no parole. Another tragedy. Not only the loss of the life of the one individual who tried to talk him down, but the others who were injured. The turmoil and the mayhem and the fear and the pain that he put that district through. His life imprisonment, is he going to have television, internet? Is he going to be able to have pen pals? Excuse me. Where were the parents? I have a feeling that the adult in that home that owned that weapon is also going to be facing charges as well. And because he's a minor, it'll be even more severe. Last night we talked about the veterans, the VA. We talked about civil rights, the economy, environment, energy. I'm a firm believer that we can take an electric vehicle, and with the right apparatus and the right, that you can have an electric car run over 3,000 miles without considering a charge. That's right. An electric car going 3,000 miles without charging. Okay, it's possible. It's very possible. It's not speculation. It's very possible. If we were to go green in 5 years, 100% of what we already have in production that is already in place and being used, if we were to have a 100% increase in that, we could start seeing a reversal in a lot of our money going into electrical production. I know the states are trying to put taxes on the energy that you're producing. They're trying to make it so you can't do it. That's fine. I'll go off grid. I don't need to be on your grid. I will go off grid. Unplug me. I have enough juice. I have more than enough. I think I'll just run a line over here to my neighbor's house, supply them as well. So, I mean, governments are stepping in. They're trying, I've heard congressmen say that we can't use solar panels because it's draining the energy from the sun. There's not going to be no sun anymore if they put on all them solar panels. And then another congressman talks about, and I don't know how these guys get up there and make fools of themselves when they do it. If we put too many wind towers up, what's going to happen is we're going to stop the wind and we won't have any wind. And if we don't have any wind, it'll kill us all. We won't have any wind. It's better than the wind that they're breaking in Congress right now. Okay? We'll have a lot better wind than that. Those are the kind of people that we have to get out of Congress. Those are the kind of people that stop Tulsi Gabbard from actually moving forward on bills that actually benefit the country, that actually benefit us as a nation in the eyes of other nations. Other nations, they don't respect us, they fear us. And that is not how you get cooperation from anyone. That is not how you grow as a people. We are all human beings, every one of us. And you white supremacists out there, you racist people who think white is right, do that DNA test and see how white you really are, bro. Once you do that, you owe it to yourself. That way, you don't end up like, what was his name? Dave Chappelle did a skit on a Ku Klux Klan Grand Dragon, and because he was so vehement in the word of the Klan, he became the Grand Master. He was a blind man too. Blind. He didn't know he was black. And then the day they found out that he was black, he divorced his wife because she was married to a black man. Do you see the comedy in this? I mean, I do. I see the comedy in it. It's a skit that you need to watch. Dave Chappelle as the Grand Dragon. You need to watch it. Another movie we need to tune into, and that's Idiocracy. And when the new English language are OMG, TMI, I mean, we have to do something about that. We need to make sure that education is at the forefront of our future development as a nation. If we start spending money in infrastructure and rebuilding this country, healthcare for all, withdraw our military bases, I have no problem with Marines being inside the embassies. I can't think of a better group of people to make sure that the embassies are safe. Pull back our bases. We don't need to be guarding the poppy fields. If people go into anarchy again, that is their choice. It's not our choice. We cannot police the world. We should not police the world. And I don't want my children dying on a foreign land defending the rights of the 1%. I enlisted into the United States Marine Corps so that my children would not ever have to consider going to war. Vietnam was supposed to be no more, no more, no more. We supported a corrupt government in South Vietnam. Millions of people died needlessly. Ho Chi Minh was a guerrilla during World War II. We supplied arms to Osama bin Laden. We provided Stinger missiles. This is not top secret stuff. This is all declassified stuff. It's been in the news and everything else. It's been in newspapers, editorials, and other magazines as well. Thanks. I appreciate that, Michael. My son's already enlisted. And my daughter, she works with veterans, no matter what the issue is. If they have a need, my daughter is working with a group of individuals that works with veterans. I guess maybe I had a little influence with how they felt. My daughter, she married a Marine. She couldn't have a better choice. I'm a little particular, though. I mean, what can I say? Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. You're right. There is no draft yet. The more they divide us, then they'll institute draft, and we'll see a lot of minorities. But, you know, I heard the other night, minorities. I'm an American, and you calling me a minority? I'm an American. I'm not a minority. I'm one of 350 million. I am not a minority. Plain and simple. We let them divide us by putting us in groups. Minority. But there's been a lot of talk about Social Security lately and the poverty. And if you look at some of the things that we're talking about, it creates poverty. When we have Congress not appropriating the right amount of money for the needs of the nation, seeing trillions of our gross national product, trillions of dollars, go to the 1%. When we see tax breaks for billionaires, when we see offshore money that's never coming back, unless someone like me and others get there in the Senate and in Congress, we can make them bring it back, or we'll nationalize everything they own. Simple as that. You want to take your money offshore to evade paying taxes? You don't want to build infrastructure here? Guess what? This bill right here nationalizes your assets, both personal and business. We've just seized it. We've nationalized it. Proceeds of your home and everything else will go. You have money offshore. Goodbye, so long, farewell, and here's your no longer U.S. citizenship card. Yes, I'm harsh. I'm harsh. But I want you to go back 40 years. I want you to go back as far as you can remember, and remember how it was. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is my wife, Jadapa. She has made me some smoothies that I'm going to enjoy. Not right now. She just face palmed me there. Anyway, thanks, babe. I can be harsh, but look at what they've done to us. Look where they've taken us. 2007, 2008, we did what? We bailed out the banks. We bailed out Wall Street. And what did Main Street get? Squat. We had U.S. servicemen, when they come home, horror stories of repossession and displacement, homelessness. For a rich man's war. Osama bin Laden is dead. Okay? We should have come home. We got what we went after. We dismantled a lot of the structure of Al-Qaeda. There was no ISIS. We did not need to go back into Iraq. The weapons of mass destruction are the ones we thought he had that we sold him. Not that I didn't call him the kettle black. We just need to change our foreign policy. People will respect us if we do. If we quit being militaristic and going around, with a hard on for everyone, if they don't see things play, I'm sorry, it has to go. This deep state stuff, too, that I've heard a lot about, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but this one here makes a lot of sense when I consider what's been going on in this country in my lifetime. I do believe that there are those who think they're above the law. I do believe that there are those who think that they are. I do believe that there are those who think you and I aren't worth anything. Well, to be quite honest, I don't really think they're worth anything. And I think about the misery and the pain and the agony that they have caused them and or their descendants. It doesn't surprise me in the least bit. So yes, if there is a deep state, we'll find it, okay? And I'm not going to blab it to you either. I'm not going to blab it to you. We're going to find ourselves many federal judges who will issue warrants for U.S. Marshals to pick up anybody we choose to pick up that are trying to take any act of treason to this country. Once they are arrested, their knowledge of being arrested will be known. Mainstream media will probably leak it out anyway. But that's okay. When you start seeing those individual arrests, you know that they've broken, you know that they have committed through their own acts against us. I want all those people out there now taking corporation money and super PAC money, that you're taking money from those who want to influence your vote. Influence the vote that the people gave you. That's right. The vote that the people gave you are the reason you are where you are now. And you chose to disregard that and listen to the big money. Okay? That is dereliction of duty. That is, to me, you might as well just stole the money from us. Plus all the other little perks and benefits that you may receive as well. So, you've already set the background. I mean, years of Federal Election Commission reports and tax returns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is the damning evidence right there. Okay? You go on the Election Commission's website and go to any particular state and enter a race or a candidate and see what kind of money has been raised and get the breakdown of that money as well. I don't have to worry about that. I don't take super PAC money, and I don't take corporation money. Okay? I can't even take, if a union, as much as I support the union worker and the unions for what they've done for this nation, I cannot take money from a union. Individual members, yes, but not the union. Okay? I don't care if they're healthcare, nurses, lawyers, or whatever. individual donations only. That's the only way I can take donations. Okay, 5-step plan to restoring constitutional government. Okay. Already I like the number one thing, the 5-step plan. I already like the first part there, Tim. If everyone will read down Tim's comment, no bill to exceed 10 pages. Understandable. Bills are to be accompanied by a constitutional article authorizing said bill. Excellent. No content in the bill that does not pertain to the title of the bill. All bills to be written in layman's terms. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I've been saying that for years. Having worked in the judicial system of the United States Marine Corps, yes, absolutely. Language that a ninth grader could understand. And I just want to read that entire comment, number 4. All bills to be written in layman terms, posted online 7 days prior to the introduction on the floor. Number 5, all bills requiring expenditures must disclose total cost, how the bill will be funded, who will be the beneficiaries, who will pay, and sunset date. Congress does not need experienced politicians. Congress needs people who have suffered the hardships created by those experienced. Tim, beautiful, beautiful. I'd like you to private message me that if you would, Tim. And I'm looking to see where you're from. Could you tell me where you're from, Tim? You're out in Illinois still? Chicago? What you just said, brother, is that that is so much easier. Rhode Island, House of Representatives. That's you? You're running or you're currently serving? Because if I click it on, I'll lose the. You guys will still have me trying to figure out how to get back. So that's where you're at, right, Tim? You are. No, I'm an advocate. Okay, that's just as good. That's just as good for the Green Party. Excellent. We got a lot of Green people out here in Washington State. Really nice people. I've had a chance to speak with some of them, and they have this one initiative that they have been pushing. That's Initiative 940. Initiative 940, and it has a lot in it for de-escalation of the police force. And this is something that we could take nationwide, this initiative. Now, I had a chance to sit down with the city council and them and observe and make an introduction of myself to them. But what I found was, the demeanor of the law officers there, very professional, very professional. Another thing that I noticed was, there wasn't, there was actual participation, citizenry to the council, and it was done very cordially. It was done with, thank you for bringing that to attention, but if you go over here to this guy who actually handles that, and the two of you discuss it, that right there was, to me, good government in action. Now, if there had been 100 people in there that night, and they all, it could have been a different story. But at the same time, they have built-in recesses in their meetings just in case issues do go longer than what they had planned, so that they can recess, you know, bathroom, water break, that kind of stuff. Honey, I'm going to be home late. It's one of those nights. Yeah, it was good. It was government in action, and it was good government in action. And I've had the chance to meet some of the green people here in Seattle. Good people, very good people. Thank you, Tim, for joining in. And I would, if you could copy and paste that to a private message for me, I'd like to get that posted on the wall and address those issues. We have to let people know that, wow, look at my hairdo. I do. Based on my family, who are both Chicago firemen and police, I don't have any experience with Chicago fire and policemen. I do have experience with my own family and friends who were policemen. But I'm sure that if this is your family and you're driven the way you are, I can't help but think that there's good blood running through as well. And I would think that they're just, and I would think that everything that they do in the line of their required duties, that they're doing it with the utmost courtesy and respect to the public that they serve, as well as putting lives above all else. Yeah, I got a feeling that that's probably the kind of way your folks are. And did I misassume that my family are both Chicago fire policemen? Yeah, okay. But no, my family's down along the south. I grew up in southwest Ohio, and it was kind of like Mayberry when I grew up. We could go out, we were told that there was a curfew, but nobody ever said nothing to us because we weren't doing crazy stuff when we were teenagers and stuff. We're just walking down the streets, you know, trying to seem adult-like, you know how it is when you're younger, okay? And the police officers, yes, they carried weapons. The sheriff's office, yes, they carried sidearms too, you know. But I never felt as safe with them in my growing up. I never worried about anything. I knew that if they showed up and I needed help, that they could help me. I knew that if my friends needed help, they would help my friend as well. It didn't matter. That's the kind of police they were. The Andy Mayberry type police. You know, caring, concerned, and everything, and everybody loved each other. But it's not that way everywhere. Okay? And you've seen it, Tim. You've seen some of the videos. It doesn't make any difference, you know, if you're scared to death, okay? If you're scared to death and the guy's 15 feet away from you and you have your firearm pulled, why can't you just shoot his legs out? I'm very good with a pistol. I'm very good with about any weapon I pick up, okay? And even though I don't shoot that often, I know where that round is going, where it's going to go downrange. And I know that if I aim at someone's leg, it may take, depending on the size of their leg and the distance and the way they're moving. Yeah, I could, you know, take a couple, 3 shots to probably hit one leg. But they're going down, okay? You ever try to walk with a bullet in your leg? So, I mean, there are different ways, and you've got all kinds of other things. So I need police officers, they need to de-escalate. And Initiative 940 requires that they also have emergency medical training as well. You never know. You come up on an accident or whatever, you know, not a live shooting or anything like that, live shots being fired, you know, just a highway incident or whatever, you'll be able to offer some form of emergency first aid so that you give a little bit of time to the victim while the real guys are coming, the real docs. Okay? So, I mean, things to think about. That's Initiative 940. If you're out of state, tune in to it, check it out, and see what you can do to get it on your ballot in your state. Okay? Check it out. Initiative 940. I hope I answered your question about that, Tim. um, well, I understand that, and I did, allude to other places that we've actually seen tragedies happen, and I think that that's where we need to, focus on. Um, that young shooter today, yesterday, 15-year-old that went to high school and shot people. I suppose the police department could have shot him too, but they didn't. It was de-escalated. Now, I hope next week we don't see where a black student's involved in something like that, or a Latino child's involved in something like that, or a Mideastern child is involved in something like that, so that someone can point the finger and the officer can pull the trigger. Yes, all public officials, including congressmen and senators. Uh, I think that particular issue might be a little hard, but I can see it for anyone who is in law enforcement or first aid, emergency medical, including fire department. But considering the type of work that the fire personnel do, I mean, it's rough and tumble. I mean, you could have all kinds of stuff falling in and falling down on you, and I don't think a body cam. It might help, locate. If you got trapped or something, it might help them locate you faster. But I could see where it'd be a hindrance to the fire department. But I could also see where it could be a benefit. But all emergency technicians and law enforcement, yes, I could see that being mandatory. And if it gets shut off, that officer's problem with his unit going off all the time or malfunctioning, and the unit didn't malfunction, but was physically shut off. Yeah, I could see getting rid of those people. I could see getting rid of them in a heartbeat. Can we agree on mandatory video keeping of all public officials? Not where there's national security issues involved, and nor in, the judges' chambers and stuff like that. They're there so that counsel can work out, hopefully, a plan with the judge, especially if new evidence has been acquired. To take, you're just talking about those people out there in the public all the time. You're not talking about lawyers and attorneys and stuff like that. Can you define that a little bit more, Tim? I appreciate that if you would. If they're working, I think that once you get into a secured area and you've gone through all the necessary to make sure that you don't have anything on you that could be used as a transport device for data. Yes, all public officials who get paid by the people. I would find it a little hard, going into a Senate Arms Committee that's closed, that's private, with a video camera on it. There's no reason to have the committee closed doors that were private anymore. There are some issues that would have to remain private for a period of time. But I can guarantee you this, Tim, I would not do anything that would harm someone else's children. I would not do anything that would plunge us into a war. I would not do anything that would take away from someone in another state. I think that when in the house like that, I think that when it's in the open forum like that, and when you're presenting and debating, yes, I think that that needs to be public. But to actually just turn the cameras on. I mean, there's enough TV cameras that are in the Congress right now, even with the iPhone or whatever. There's enough video recording and audio recording as well going on. I don't think that those officials need to do that. I mean, if they're bad, their stuff is going to come out soon enough. And I'm trying to get back some of the freedoms that we've lost because of the Freedom Act. Okay. We don't need to be imposing new restrictions and therefore our own ability to get some of our own freedom back. But it's worth the thought. I mean, the thought, it is a good thought. It's not a bad thought. But I think that all the rooms, except those for security reasons, all hearings public and broadcast live. Yes, we would have them for quality assurance, but there are some times when there are just some things that need to be discussed in private because we don't need to overload the general public on getting to that particular deal. And as I said, Tim, I'm not going to sign anything that will compromise a person in another state, no matter how good it is for Washington State. We're a country. We're all human beings living in this country. And it doesn't make any difference where we're from or how we got here. The important thing is we're here now. Okay? We call ourselves Americans, citizens of the United States. And as citizens of the United States, we need to take care of those sovereign nations that are within our borders. We need to take care of and protect Puerto Rico, for one. The devastation that the hurricanes have brought on Puerto Rico and the financial, economic destruction that we have done to Puerto Rico, schools are closing down. People have nothing to look forward to at this time, all because of hedge fund managers and taking over the school system and making sure that their payments came first over the needs of the people. And our Congress let it happen. Those things I'm going to talk about in plain view. But if I have a camera on me and I'm trying to talk to a U.S. Marshal or a U.S. District Judge to file this warrant for arrest based on the evidence that I placed before the judge, I don't want everyone in the country knowing about it, especially the ones who don't even know they're getting ready to be arrested. Does that make sense? There are some things that have to be done quietly if we're going to stop this madness. We're going to use the same things that they used on us. We're going to use the same laws. We'll make sure that they get a fair trial. You have to have evidence before warrants can be issued, plain and simple. If there's no warrant, no just cause, there can be no warrant issued. Investigations can be started, but with no evidence to actually show the judge that a subpoena, federal subpoena, is warranted, yeah, it has to have good cause. I mean, it has to be good. It has to be better than a 50-50, okay? It has to be better than a 50-50. 51-49 is not good enough. That's why we'll have overwhelming evidence. And so I don't really want to put too much stuff out there. There are some things that we have to do privately, quickly, and we have to go with the procedure of the SEAL team. Plain and simple. Good one there, Tim. That is a good one. And you mentioned, and if those with you will just follow the comment that Tim made, I would understand privacy, but wouldn't it make sense if the video record was on file as a secured private video? Would it not be allowed or accessible as evidence based on wrong directives or corrupted policies? It would be for private records only. He said, she said, but if we have video evidence of the private record, a federal subpoena could be used on the video documentation. Yeah, because they signed a waiver by having that camera on. So yes, there we get into the area of self-incrimination. What do we do about that? Because basically, even though there wasn't an investigation currently going on, okay, but when the investigation began, or this was used as evidence thereof, isn't the Fifth Amendment going to be used? I mean, sometimes when I see the Fifth Amendment used, I look at it, well, just say you knew it anyway. You know, and I can't talk about the details. Yeah, I know about it, but I can't talk about it. And then give the security reason why you can't. But I see that some cases that's going to be one of the things that come out, just like it comes out in these Senate hearings we have now. With all due respect, Chairman, I'm going to have to take the Fifth. With all due respect, Chairman, I'm going to have to take the Fifth. Even in spite of solid video evidence. You wouldn't have to be self-incriminated if your video record is based on truth and honesty. That's true. That's true. And I suppose, okay, I suppose also, Tim, I also suppose that during the course of that video being made, at some point, there was an investigation as to criminal activity. And which would in turn be part of it. So yes, I could see where that would happen. I myself, how soon do I have to put that damn thing on in my day? How soon do I have to put it on? Do I turn it on the minute I walk through the door, or the minute I leave my house? Is that how we make it work? I'm just looking at all the parameters here, okay? I was in Judge Advocate Division office, and I learned a lot of things by sitting with those gentlemen, as long as I did, and it was very enlightening. Just during proceedings of records, okay? I see that. I wouldn't have trouble with that. You know, basically the whole time. I mean, you walk through the halls of Congress, it's on. I mean, you take it one step further. However, when you go into a secret hearing or whatever, you stop, you make a statement. There should be a mirror there so you can do a selfie. You make a statement that you're getting ready to go into proceedings that are not able to be viewed. Any proceedings of this meeting are already going to be recorded by Senate staff. Yeah, I could see something, you know, like that. You know, uncomfortable, but I could see where it could be noteworthy. That's true. There's a lot of different things it could be. And I can see the backlash on this now, even though you and I and others have, you know, somewhat agreed, you know, that there should be something like that. I think that our law enforcement, our emergency medical technicians, and firemen, yes, firemen, you know, maybe, maybe not. I could see where they need to have that camera on 24/7. From the time they leave their home, they turn it on because you never know what's going to happen. Okay, and but as far as taking it further, it makes it a little bit rougher. But I think that videotaping, and if they should be, if they're not, I think they are, that you can go into the Library of Congress and you can pull up those records just by making a request. It's nice if you knew what the calendar was for that day, so you could actually request, the film proceedings or video proceedings of that said meeting. So, I mean, there are ways to access that, and it would be through the Library of Congress in order to get copies of that if you miss something. But I do believe that they have cameras rolling the whole time just for austerity reasons to film those particular events, okay? Even in those secret meetings behind closed doors, there are congressional or Senate cameras that are running, because if something happens to the people that were in there because of a catastrophic or cataclysmic event, there is a record to see the direction that was going, if none of them survived, what they were talking about. And it's just that those are held secret for a much longer time based on the secrecy and the depth and security reasons for those. But if I was a police officer wearing a body cam, no, I'd want the people to know that I'm doing the best I could. I'd want them to see it. I'd want them to see it. And especially if my body cam's on and there's a missing child out there and I don't catch it. I don't catch it, but my body cam does, and my body cam picks up location, et cetera, et cetera. And someone who's proofing those videos sees that child because they just talked about it moments ago. Boom. They have units put there in that area quick. They notify you at the same time. Okay? I mean, I could see those kind of things happening, good things happening. I talked about what's going on within our nation, sovereign nations. And I'd like to go more into that. We have a limited amount of fresh water on this planet. And yet corporations, industries, politicians, lobbyists, and everyone else is out to make a quick buck. They don't care about the safety. It's not my neighborhood. Okay? Well, there's a saying out there, and there still is, called NIMBY, not in my backyard. If you're going to pollute, not in my backyard. If you're going to destroy the aquifer, not in my backyard. You want to lay this horrendous pipe across our nation that could leak at any time, not in my backyard. Canada, you want that oil to the market, you run it across your land, not the people's land of the United States, and especially not through tribal sacred ground. That is an act of war, yo-yos. Come on. We signed a treaty with these people. We've taken everything from them, their way of life and everything else. We've denigrated them. We've allowed terrible things to happen to them. These people are out there trying to protect the environment. What part of the environment are they trying to protect the most of? The water. The water. Without this stuff here, no more. No more. Your money don't mean a damn. Not a thing. The animals are going to die if there's no water no more. But they'll find a way, okay? They'll find a way to survive. We won't. We'll kill each other just for that last bottle of water, knowing that it's the last thing we're going to drink the rest of our lives. How would you feel if you were drinking the last bottle of water on Earth? The last bottle of fresh, safe water. Would you look at it? Would you take a drink? And savor it? The only righteous thing to do is pour it out on the ground. Because if you're the last person on Earth, or you've got the last bottle of water, and there's no more fresh water, because we've destroyed it all, is it really worth living the rest of your life, 2 or 3 days, in agony, dehydrating, turning to dust, eaten by the animals? What's left? The worms and the flies, the maggots. Water. We can't live without it. How would you act if you had the last bottle of water? Wouldn't you much rather know that you walk down to your kitchen or your garage or your storage room and you can get a couple of bottles of fresh water? Yeah, you could probably get it from your tap, but it tastes funky, it smells weird and everything else. So you're drinking bottled water. You're paying for the water that comes into your house. You're paying for the sewage and everything else that you're paying for the storm rain off and everything else. And that doesn't include the taxes you pay. So, what's it going to be? We're going to support the First People, First Nation, First Nations on protecting our water. They were here long before we were. I think they know a little bit about salmon runs, shellfish, porpoise, whales. I think they know a little bit. And I have no trouble with them being on the front lines, fighting the fight, giving us the information, making sure that the laws are being enforced against companies and or people who would do the environment wrong. I can think of no better enforcers, quality control, purveyors of a good environment. I can think of no better group of people to take care of that operation for the Americans. Water is life. Father is 100% Cherokee Indian. He told me that since the 70s and about this happening. Well, you know, a lot of tribal wise men or leaders, spiritual leaders of the tribe, who've passed down the history and the faith of the tribes, the history, everything, the storytellers. And that's the way it used to be until they invented the printing press. That's how we found out about things. Different tribes have talked about different things, celestial beings, what it's going to be like. I think we need to listen to some of those things, and how does it pertain to modern day? And what was there back then, during that time, that prophecy originated, or that story originated? What was going on? Was there anything that correlated to that? If not, that story has weight. And it's funny how so many stories across this world, I mean literally across this world, resemble each other in many different ways. Some in creation, some in events. So there is a correlation, of people, one mind. And I can't help but think that as archaeologists have shown us that we all pretty much originated from one part of the world. And that was in Africa. And we spread out. I'm trying to figure out how the white supremacists came about. I really don't know how that came about. Nothing against albinos, but maybe they were just all albinos and they herded together, and that's how they started their Aryan nation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've enjoyed some of the conversations tonight. I have gotten some really good links and information tonight. I encourage everyone, religion. We'll talk about that another time, Tim. Come back tomorrow night. We'll have one more episode this week. And there's going to be a bunch of new faces coming on here at night. I may not be with you every night, but it's going to be someone who is volunteering information and things about other progressives out there, in addition to my campaign. And thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. But we're going to try to make sure that we have a posted schedule, you know, like regular live shows that come on. We're also thinking about this coming Monday moving to a new time slot, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That would be 3 o'clock, right? I think 6 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock here. No, that's not right. It'd be 3 o'clock here. So somehow or another, we're going to work it out to where there's going to be an early show that will come on 6 o'clock here, which we'll put at 9 o'clock Eastern time, with a rebroadcast here in the Pacific Northwest and Central times, as well as times in Hawaii, so that people there can pick it up. I also have friends and family that are watching this worldwide, and I look at how the world looks at us as a reflection of how we may truly be. And I'm so glad for all the support that I've been given. But yes, look for some new faces coming on this channel here. They're going to be talking about progressive issues. They're going to be talking about particular candidates in particular areas. They're going to be talking about those who are active in Congress and Senate now, who are actual true progressives. We might have somebody come on here from a major supporter of Tulsi Gabbard coming on here to the show sometime and talking about the issues that the Congresswoman is facing and how we as a nation can also help support her. And that is making sure that we are registered to vote and get those progressives and independents into office and sent off to the Congress and to the Senate. And that way we have a party of unity, a coalition of like minds working for the American people, public servants taking over our nation's capital. What a beautiful thought. But we can do that. And so we've got a lot of good things that are happening here. But 6 o'clock Monday night, we're going to start our broadcast here live. I'll be kicking that off for the week. And then through the week and periods on down the road, there will be others joining in at that same time and discussing those issues that we just talked about. There'll probably also be an open forum. There'll be the moderator, et cetera, and we'll take it from there and see what kind of feedback we get. So thank you again tonight. Any comments, post comments that comes to your mind, you can drop us a message here at this here and or go to our .com, DaveStratfordUSSenate.com, and leave a comment. If you feel like volunteering, there's also a volunteer list there that you can fill out and have a campaign there as well. We may be having some products for sale here soon. I wanted to let you know that. You know, I have a hard time asking people for money, but I figure if you give something to the people, it's worth it. I think you'll like it. So far, it's gotten pretty good reviews. And but that's the fundraiser that I came up with. Okay? And anyway, thank you again. And good night.